The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
We have come from a distant country. Make a treaty with us.
But perhaps you live near us. So how can we make a treaty with you?
Because we are your servants.
Who are you, and where do you come from?
We, your servants, have come from a very distant country because of the fame of the Lord your God. For we have heard of the reports of him, all he did in Egypt, and all he did to the two kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth. And your elders and all those who living in our country said to us, take provisions for your journey. Go and meet them and say to them, we are your servants. Make a treaty with us. See, the bread of ours was warm when we packed it at home on the day we left to come to you. See now how dry and moldy it is? All these wineskins that were filled new. But see how cracked they are? And our clothes and sandals are worn out by this very long journey. Please, just make a treaty with us.
After Achan's sin was dealt with, the nation of Israel was ready for round 2 with the city of Ai. This time, God was on their side and devised a master plan that set an ambush for the warriors of that city. In this episode, we will discuss the events of Joshua chapters 8 and 9.
Welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Thank you all for tuning in this week. Quick housekeeping items. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Please rate it if you're listening on any streaming platforms, or like it, depending on which one you're on. This week, even before we even get into the podcast, I just want to encourage everyone to actually do their own research in the Bible themselves beyond what we say. Actually open the Bible and read, and the whole thing, study it, get familiar with it, because for one, I don't want anyone just to take our word for what we say and our analysis. Me and Kazi just had an hour discussion, not even about our part, just about another aspect of the Bible.
Exactly.
And it's so refreshing to actually know the Bible for yourself, be able to discuss it, actually have a discourse about the Bible, and be able to understand things better amongst a fellow brethren who actually is reading the same thing you're reading, or have a better understanding. You can actually go back and forth. So I know we say it a lot, and it's at the beginning of the little tag at the beginning of each episode, but no, seriously, actually open the Bible and actually read the Bible for yourself. Actually know what it says. I personally feel it was in Psalms when it says, lean not onto your own understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a lot of people don't even lean onto their own understanding. They lean on other people's understanding more than their own. Because you would hear a pastor say something, you would hear your friend say something, you're oh, I believe that's a reliable source, and you just regurgitate it. Didn't fact check it, didn't check it out. You never even read the text for yourself. You know what people say oh, I know it's someplace in the Bible. I found myself one time saying something that wasn't in the Bible at all.
Yeah, see, bro. Well, the text we were talking about is in Proverbs. Just to correct that. But,
Proverbs, appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's why you got to read for yourself. I had to read that myself. I ain't joking, but when we first started doing the pod, bro, I find myself really just quoting a lot of things that were just not in the Bible, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Just not in the Bible, and it's embarrassing. You understand what I'm saying? But some of the things that I repeated or quoted, it's alluded to in the Bible. You understand what I'm saying? But it's not a direct quote from the Bible. And then some things people really just think is in the Bible, God helps those who help themselves. It's not in the Bible. You understand what I'm saying? But faith without works is dead. You feel me? You understand? So it's yeah. But one thing I wanted to say about your point, though, is that if you rely on us or anyone for that matter to teach you the whole Bible, you know how long that's going to take? Like, you know how inefficient that is going to be, because we might go through, we might average a chapter and a half every episode. Some episodes it might be 3 chapters, some episodes it might be 1. You understand what I'm saying? So let's just say 1 or 2 chapters an episode. You got to wait a week to read 2 chapters of the Bible. You could knock that out in 5 minutes. You can knock that out in 10 minutes. You can let the Bible play. A chapter is like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Sometimes I just play it and wash the dishes. You understand what I'm saying? I in the shower, I just listening to the Bible. And to me, that's almost like listening to a podcast, listening to the radio. Like, I just listen to these contents, and sometimes I have to rewind it because I'm like, ooh, the Bible getting spicy, Paul getting spicy right now. You feel me? Let me check that out. You know what I'm saying? And it's also things in the Bible that affect me differently that it may affect Earl, may affect you.
Exactly. Because the Holy Spirit reveals things differently to everybody.
Exactly. Like I was reading Daniel this week, and Daniel was having dreams. Of course, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams. The book is heavily centered around dreams. And
you thought Joseph had dreams.
Boy, oh boy, Daniel would like a word. But those dreams, not the dream itself, but the fact that he had dreams and the way Daniel reacted to the dreams is something that I resonated with, because I've had a dream that I feel like I've had a dream where the Lord was specifically talking to me, and he was trying to get my attention in some type of way. And I could see how Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar went through the same thing. And so that touched me. But like, if someone telling me this story, I may not be able to feel that and live it the way that Daniel was living it, you know? And so that's why it's important for everybody to read the Bible and learn these things for themselves.
Yeah. So I guess to end this thought, do your own research, read the Bible, develop that relationship with God, and develop that own understanding. Let the Holy Spirit guide you in your studies, and pray, let him reveal stuff to you, and get familiar. Actually get to know God's word. I mean, at the end of the day, how can you expect to have a relationship with someone if you do all the talking when you pray, but you never stop to listen or never stop to actually see what he's already said?
Right. So we went on this journey. Honestly, right now, and this is how it should be today. I feel like I know the Bible the most I've ever known it in my life. You understand? And it was times when growing up, we had to memorize memory verse. I haven't memorized the verse in a very long time, to be completely honest with you. But during the past year, what you was gonna say?
I mean, it's like, what's the purpose of memorizing these memory verses? Like, certain ones, yeah, okay, you get a little fake, right? But I'm like, because not this age, like some of them you remember, but then like, here's my biggest problem with some of them. They just take it out of context. So like you learn a verse, but you have no context behind this verse, and like the verse alone could sound powerful, but the context in it even makes it more powerful, or it could change the whole meaning of the verse. Anyway, that's my little rant.
No, I get you, but hide these words in your heart so that you may not sin against God. You know what I'm saying? And it may be a time when we may no longer have Bibles. You feel me? So our memory is going to be the only thing that we can rely on. But what I'm saying is this: the understanding I have of the Bible today, it is very limited. You understand? I have so much more to learn, but I view the Bible completely different than I did a year ago and a year before that. Just like I am actually learning so much about the Bible on this podcast journey now, and I'm just like, whoa! I'm looking at this as I don't even know how to describe it. Going through this podcast, it's like I'm reading a completely different book. I'm getting a completely different emotion while reading these things. I'm learning new things. I'm learning the same thing in a new way.
I got a question for you. I know we're on a tangent now, but forgive us, right? But I have a question for you. So like in the time of trouble, right? Mm-hmm. You think it's going to be important to say, okay, in Daniel 7 verse 7, this happened? Or you just telling the story about, okay, there was these beasts, right? And this beast had this, this, and this. And this beast represents Greece. This beast represents Babylon. This beast represents this. And then you go through the history and just talk about it and dissect it like that? Or you want to be... So Daniel 6:7 said this.
But hold on. That's what I'm saying, bro. I was at the mechanic the other day, right? And the mechanic was trying to break down to me what was going on with my car, right? Mm-hmm. my fiance asks me, hey, what the mechanic say? I repeat what the mechanic say, but I do it a complete disservice because I didn't really know what he was talking about for real, for real. I just needed to know what I needed to do. I didn't really need to know what's going on with the car. I just needed to know what action I was supposed to take, right? So I'm reiterating this thing to my fiance, but I have not memorized and I don't know in depth what this thing is talking about.
Oh,
right?
also, shout out, right? So by the time this episode comes out, this is Kazi's wedding weekend. So definitely say congratulations in the chat, in the comment section. So by the time we get to the next episode, this man will be a married man. So yeah, okay, but continue.
Right. So my thing is like, you can repeat something, right? And you can have the general gist of something, but you might miss context. And even in doing that, if you don't absorb this thing definitively. So I could tell you something and it'll be different from you reading it. You could get,
like I say, still, my whole thing was against the memory text kind of thing. I say like still absorb the story, still know the story. But I'm like, if you ain't got no Bible, right? You ain't gonna be saying exactly word for word for word for word. Exactly. Unless you got some type of super photographic memory. I have a photographic
memory, bro. I'm sorry to tell you, bro. Like,
all right. So what Genesis 35 verse 8 say?
Oh, Genesis 35 verse 8 says.
Exactly. But you know what I can do? I can tell you the story of Abraham very consistently.
For sure. I feel you.
The important parts. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, and then off of these people, it was like oral tradition off of the time. But then before they write it down, but their brains just a lot better back then.
That's true. So, one thing that wasn't committed to memory, what you should do when you finish traveling through Jericho, that wasn't committed to memory, obviously, because our brother Achan, that's what we spoke about last week's episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our brother Achan
good segue.
Did not follow the rules that Joshua laid out as told to him by God. Do not take any of the gold. You understand what I'm saying? Do not take anything. Basically, everything is to be devoted to God. So we had our one of the Israelites. He decided he was in the midst of conquering the city. He looked to the left. It was probably one of the most fly person in Jericho's closet that he just stumbled upon. Saw a nice robe, Babylonian robe. And it's so funny, Babylonian robe. It's like, in retrospect, like after you've already understand the Old Testament, you see how problematic it is to want anything that's Babylonian. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but Babylon does not get a good reputation at all.
Exactly. From the first time we hear about Babel, it was just bad. You know what I'm saying? Like Babylon never had a good representation. And we fast forward all the way to Revelation and say, fallen is fallen. Babylon is
fallen. That great city. See, that part I do memorize from heart because my grandma used to make me say that every Sabbath.
Oh, for sure. And I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel. It's some things you ain't gonna forget, bro.
I gotta count myself because some of this stuff's still good to have in your memory. So.
I know you was being hyperbolic, bro. But the overall idea is to basically to read and to contain the knowledge, to absorb the knowledge for sure. And so we have Achan who,
suppose his name is Achan.
It could be.
Don't mind me. Keep going. Don't mind me.
Right. So he decided to actually disobey God and steal from Jericho and basically steal from God, really. And as a result, the Lord his anger burned against the Israelites, causing them to lose their battle against Ai. And then the Lord instructed Joshua on how to weed out the delinquent or the person that was causing God's anger to burn, who was Achan, and he was certainly stoned. I think him along with his family, they were all destroyed. And so moving forward to this week, we are in Joshua chapter, is it 7?
Joshua chapter 8.
Joshua chapter 8.
Picking up. And so now we know from, like Kazi said now, so whole family get destroyed. And so now God's anger, we could assume, is no longer burning against the Israelites. So now I'm picking up in Joshua 8, verse 1. The Lord said to Joshua, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. Take the whole army with you, go up and attack Ai. For I have delivered into your hand the king of Ai, his people, his city, and his land. You should do to Ai and its king as you did to Jericho and its king, except that you may carry off their plunder and their livestock for yourselves. Set an ambush behind the city. So now in verse 3, we see Joshua. So Joshua and the whole army move out to attack Ai. He chose 30,000 of his best fighting men and sent them out in the night. With these orders, listen carefully. You are to set an ambush to the city. Don't go very far from it. All of you be on alert. I and all those with me will advance on the city. And when the men come out to fight against us as they did before, we will flee from them. They will pursue us until we have lured them away from the city, for they will say, they are running away from us as they did before. So when we flee from them, you are to rise up from ambush and take the city. The Lord your God will give it into your hand. You have taken the city, set it on fire. Do what the Lord has commanded. See to it. You have my orders.
So just off rip, we can see the difference in God's plan on how to defeat the people of Ai compared to Joshua. Joshua say, hey, this light work, basically. We don't even need a bunch of men. Let's just carry, 3,000 men? Let's just carry 3,000 men up there and, let's get busy. And they definitely ended up running. They left our fight running.
And 36 died.
36 died. The rest ran away. You understand? But this time God said, no, take everybody. You understand? Take your whole army. And Joshua mustered up an army of 30,000 men for this city, whom they called small, whom Joshua was saying was small. And another thing to note was that God ain't saying y'all could take them. God say again, I have delivered them into your hands. And that's interesting because it's like all of these victories are just falling into their laps. And it's not to be confused, because that's how all of our battles should be, because we have God who is the master tactician on our side. Earl just taught me that word off mic. On our side. And he goes forth, gives us the wisdom, gives us the game plan, fights our battles for us. I feel like similar to Joshua, we make our life even harder when we come up with our game plan. You understand what I'm saying? Because to Joshua, this light work, we only need a little bit of people. God said, no, take your whole army. This is the smarter thing to do, and this is the effective thing to do. So just off rip, we can see two difference in the strategies. Of course, it's Joshua versus God. That's not fair. You know what I'm saying? But we could definitely see the difference in how they went about it this time.
And then another thing to point out too is that you see what God said this time, like, do the same as you did for Jericho, but this time you get to carry everything for yourself. Nothing.
I don't care about them things, bro. You can have it. And then watch this, right? It's like fattening frog for snake. That's what we saying about it, right? So the people fattening frog for snake, meaning like when you invest in something and someone else get to reap the benefits from it. So God bless you all to have the land flowing with milk and honey. To this day, Nakhaz still ain't fully grasp what that means. And I assume that once we get through, once they actually settle, I'll probably understand some more. Or I made some research. It just never crossed my mind for real. But they have this land. We know that this land is good because Sodom and Gomorrah was like a really lush place. And that was in the land of Canaan. You understand what I'm saying? Probably not too far, And are they just supposed to come there empty-handed? They just spent the last 40 years in the desert. They couldn't have acquired that much livestock, and it wasn't too much new livestock he was going to acquire. You understand? It's just however your livestock multiply from there. But God's saying, I am not only giving you all a new spot, but I furnish in the spot. You understand what I'm saying? You all get to take all of this stuff with the people of Ai, the people of Canaan spent so hard working to get. That's yours. You understand what I'm saying? I am delivering that into your hands, Man,
I just wonder, like, if your boy only did wait, man.
But if you just did wait. It
just shows how much people, like, lose out on their blessings because they jumped the level. Like, I mean, I read in a book right now called, like, Your Next 5 Moves. And it just talks about how so much people want to be on level 5, essentially. but you ain't do like the necessary steps to get there yet. So your boy wanted to live the lavish life, but he ain't gone through the necessary steps to live that lavish life yet, but he wanted to take it for himself. And you could have had way better if you had just gone through the process versus just forcing it now.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Jacob. Jacob ended up jumping the gun, and that cost him so much years.
So much heartache and pain.
It's like his life just wasn't happy after that. You know what I mean?
No.
But that's Israel. Jacob, who they call Israel, like, you feel me? Like,
who all these people lean after.
Exactly. We can say the same for Abraham, Abraham, but his son, and the list actually goes on. There's a lot of people who jump the gun in the Bible. And I feel like the Bible does a good job of actually showing how relying on our will, you understand what I'm saying, is just not as, it just pales in comparison to God's will,
Right.
So that go for Achan and Joshua in this, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So then now the plan was laid. So now we see Joshua picking up in verse 9. Then Joshua sent them off. And they went to a place of ambush and lay in wait between Bethel and Ai. And to the west of Ai, so they just was to the west of Ai, between Ai and Bethel. But Joshua spent the night with the people. Early the next morning, Joshua mustered his army. And he and the leaders of Israel marched before them to Ai. The entire force was with him, marched up and approached the city and arrived in front of it. They set camp north of Ai, with the valley between them and the city. Joshua had taken about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai to the west of the city. So the soldiers took up their positions with the main camp to the north of the city and the ambush to the west of it. That night, Joshua went into the valley. So they're just trying to lay out the situation going on where people were stationed and picturing a valley in between where Joshua was and the city of Ai. Then you're picturing people to the north, you're picturing people to the west.
Yep. So do you have the decoy set up here? Then the ambush set up everywhere else.
So picking up in verse 14, when the king of Ai saw this, he and all the men of the city hurried out early in the morning to meet Israel in battle at a certain place overlooking Arabah. Interesting. But he did not know that an ambush had been sent against him behind the city. I like how the Bible has to say that. I'm like, well, it kind of defeats the point of an ambush if you know I'm here.
Right.
Joshua and all Israel let themselves be driven back before them, and they fled towards the wilderness. All the men of Ai were called to pursue them, and they pursued Joshua and were lured away from the city. Not a man remained in Ai or Bethel who did not go after Israel. They left the city open and went in pursuit of Israel. So now we see the Ai and I presume Bethel now, they were so excited to lay waste to Israel now that not a single man was left to defend the city.
Boy, they gone all out.
And my thing is, right, like, I don't know, like, you would think if people come here, this is your second time coming, right? And y'all still ain't trying to put up a fight, I'd be like, why y'all running so easy? You know what I'm saying? Hey, like, think about it. Y'all came all this way to fight me.
And then y'all just running.
And then the minute I say, okay, we're going out, y'all just say, okay, park up, time to go. Like, I would think, like, something's up, maybe.
Yeah.
Just maybe.
See, but that's the thing. Because they defeat them so bad last time, it might not have been far-fetched.
So we just gonna kill them off this time.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. Because they probably regret letting them get away still. Because, you have to deal with them again.
They play with their food the first time.
Yeah, exactly. No, we gotta complete the mission. We gotta complete the mission this time. Sorry.
So now in verse 20, the men of Ai looked back and saw the smoke rising from the city into the sky, but they had no chance to escape in any direction. The Israelites who had been fleeing towards the wilderness turned back against their pursuers. But now, when Joshua and the Israelites saw that the ambush had taken the city and the smoke was going up from it, they turned around and attacked the men of Ai. Those in ambush also came out of the city against them. So they were caught in the middle, the Israelites on both sides. Israel cut them down, leaving them neither survivors nor fugitives. But they took the king of Ai alive and brought him to Joshua.
That's crazy. And all this And all this happening right around the place where Jacob had his dream. And remember, it was in
Bethel.
Bethel. Yeah. It's just interesting because they coming back to this land where it all started. Like,
Where it all happened.
yeah, where it all happened. But bro, now that's a plan. Now that's a master plan executed perfectly. You know what it is?
Without
All right.
flaws.
But you see all right, so at Jericho, everybody's hearts was melted. So that was just an easy win, right? This time their hearts wasn't melted. They was eager for you. But you don't know God was already had it set up where they was gonna lose. You understand? So you see your enemies running and you know you have the leverage, also you chasing them. It's like when you see a dog sometimes, right? You know they can smell fear, right? You get to run and they want to chase you. You feel me? So that's what they do. They say, oh, yeah, we got the enemies in sight. We got them now.
Nothing has excited a dog more when you start running.
Exactly. Next thing you know, you stop running and you turn around. You turn around, but then out of nowhere, other people come and corner you. You understand what I saying?
I mean, just think about it now. You saw it because even before that, you were in such hot pursuit, right? And you look back and you see smoke rising from yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because the first thing would be thinking of, like, imagine you have a wife or a mommy or something. You're like, oh, shoot, what happened to my family now? Like,
right. Every man, but you know what it is? Every man leave them cities. That's crazy. Now that is crazy, bro.
the Israelites just have to walk through and just set it on fire at that point.
Exactly. This was too easy. Like, oh, well, nobody's stopping us from doing this. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? So they light the city up. Y'all turn around and see y'all city on fire. Now you like, wow. And then the people who was chasing y'all turning around now.
Turn around now.
You know it's about to be a long night.
And then, like, it's like I was reading, I was like, these people got done with the city. So I'm like, hold on, there's no other men left in the city. So obviously, oh yeah, we ready we have to do this. So it's nothing of us to come out the city and just come and catch on from the back now.
Yeah.
Flank them.
That's crazy. That make me think how long they was running though. Think about it. Bro, you died. So I imagine y'all have on like armor and all that, right? How long was y'all running for a whole city to get burned, to get on fire?
They ain't had no metal armor yet though. So they just was wearing probably. Right. Yeah. That's a little further down the line. Yeah, we a little further down the line.
Jump in the gutty. All right, cool.
Couple well centuries.
So this is what I'm saying, bro. How long it could take for a big smoke around the city? Oh, that could happen quickly too, though. That could happen quickly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not to run away is though, because I'm like, because you have to lure the man away. Because I mean, in my mind, thinking now, these people, because the other men weren't like right outside the city. So they was like probably like, let's just say like 2 or 3 miles outside the city. So you have to run about 2 or 3 miles so the next people could come in and actually sack the city. That's
what I'm saying. And then they got to catch up, however, the distance you was just running from.
But I mean, the king did bring a lot of men. So I mean, they might have had different waves or whatever.
Oh, yeah, true. Because there was people set up everywhere. So if I run to the west, the people who set up in the west, they would have been closest to there anyway. So, yeah. But boy, oh boy. Safe to say, they was done. They was finished, bro. Once the Israelites turned around, it was a wrap. It was a wrap.
Yeah. So now in verse 24, when Israel had finished killing all the men of Ai in the fields and the wildernesses where they had chased them, and when every one of them had been put to the sword, all the Israelites returned to Ai and killed those who were in it. 12,000 men and women fell that day to the people, all the people of Ai. For Joshua did not draw back the hand that held out his javelin until he had destroyed all who lived in Ai. But Israel did carry off for themselves the livestock and the plunder of the city as the Lord instructed Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai and he made it a permanent heap of ruins, a desolate place to this day. He impaled the body of the king of Ai on a pole and left it there until evening. At sunset, Joshua ordered the body to be taken down from the pole and throw it down at the entrance of the city gate. And they raised a large pile of rocks over it, which remains to this day. Your city that you thought was going to protect you, so boastful coming out against God's people. Now you get impaled with a pole.
Boy, how the mighty has fallen. I know how mighty he was, but They definitely beat them the first time. So here we see how the Lord did some cleaning up for them. You know, we rid the Israelites of that parasite that was Achan.
Like 12,000 people in one day. Like,
Yeah. That's just crazy to
that's
me.
a lot of bodies that dropped, bro.
But like imagine you go to a city, bro, and you just like everything must go. like a blowout sale. Everything must go, bro.
My word. And God
Yeah.
was so specific with it too. Like, don't take no fugitive, don't take no prisoner.
Everything must go.
I will blot this out from the book.
For sure. Because at the same time, it's like, you know, it's like a lot of these people don't fear God, right? No, these people don't fear God. Let me just say it like that. They don't fear God. And they were going to be punished eventually for disrespecting God, for blaspheming, for worshiping idols, for just whatever they're doing in their what's the word, iniquity, right? And so here we get to actually see it. You feel me? Because for all of the other nations that was going around, that was probably doing things that were not of God and infuriating God. Like if you blatantly disobeying God and you understand the Most High God and you know of the Most High God and you want to curse him and just disrespect him, punishment is going to happen. You know, that is a fact. But for this story, we actually get to see it happen. And truthfully, this was a long time coming anyway. From when God was talking to Abraham, he was talking about how his wrath wasn't done with some of the people of Canaan. You know, he was already talking about how your descendants going to get this land. You know what I'm saying? But it's only after 400 years of being enslaved and mistreated and stuff like that. And then I'll give over, you know, this, I'm paraphrasing, but I'll give over this country because my wrath isn't done with these Canaanites yet. You know? So like we serve a patient God. So I just don't want it to actually be seen, because the God of the Old Testament is like seemingly a big contrast to Jesus in the New Testament. And so a lot of people subscribe to just New Testament based Christianity where it's like peace and love, you know? So when you look at the Old Testament, it's like, oh, that's the days of old. No, we don't, God ain't like that no more. Or we don't follow God, the Father. We just follow Jesus because he's the chill, loving person. But you got to understand, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. These are the same people who was around for all of this, but it's different because, no, it's not even different, but it's just understanding that God is patient. By the time we see this happening, God would have already have given them enough times to stop, to change, to make things right, and then they choose not to. I use the analogy with Noah all the time. Some people just seem to get on the boat. You understand what I'm saying? Some people just seem to get on the ark. For Noah's case, basically no one got on the ark. It was only his family. You feel me? People who he had kind of had control over if they go on the ark or not. You know what I'm saying? But not everyone could get on the ark, and we can see the people of Canaan. These wasn't people who had plans to follow the Most High God.
No, they didn't care about nothing.
Exactly. However, there are some exceptions. We have Rahab. That's the only one who's really named up until this point.
Until this point, yeah.
But they do reference the foreigner dwelling among you. They reference that all the time, even before Rahab. So you know there are some people who are not Israelites, but they are still God's people, you know?
Yeah, man, because I mean, the Holy Spirit still works on everybody. So just like this is Rahab, just how Rahab would say, yeah, we know you guys worship the true God. Like, your God is very powerful. Like, people know, like, even in your darkness, God still talks to you and reaches and tugs on your heart. So people are just without excuse.
Mm-hmm. And that's the truth, bro. That's the truth. Verse 30. Right. Then Joshua built on Mount Ebal an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the Israelites. He built it according to what is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of uncut stones, on which no iron tool had been used. On it, they offered to the Lord burnt offerings and sacrificed fellowship offerings. There, in the presence of the Israelites, Joshua wrote on stones a copy of the law of Moses. All the Israelites with their elders, officials, and judges were standing on both sides of the ark of the covenant of the Lord, facing the Levitical priests who carried it. Both the foreigners living among them and the native born were there. Half of the people stood in front of Mount Gerizim, and half of them in front of Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had formerly commanded when he gave instructions to bless the people of Israel. Afterward, Joshua read all the words of the law, the blessings and the curses, just as it is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses had commanded that Joshua did not read to the whole assembly of Israel, including the women and children and the foreigners who lived among them.
You can't say you don't know.
No.
Moses tell y'all before, and I telling y'all again.
All right, then. You can't say y'all second generation Israelites, new freed Israelites, don't know.
And y'all new foreigners who just joined,
Yeah.
your family need to know.
This orientation, Israel 101.
Before you stay at school.
My boy, right? He rewrote the
When I see this, I was like, but that's dedication.
in stone.
I was gonna be like, but why are you writing it again?
Bro, imagine you read the whole Torah. Like aloud in front of people, bro. Like, that's crazy.
Don't worry, we get into a story soon. The crazier. Joshua, this man is make new time.
Oh, yeah, for
With
sure.
God's help.
For sure. Oh, yeah. Hey, and he's the first person who God actually listened to. The Bible say that. That was crazy.
Wait,
That was crazy.
Wait, that story. I just can't wait to break down that story. And people
Right.
tell me I probably might go a little too deep, but I'm like, wait, just scientifically. What is this? What else happened for this to happen?
Imagine people on the other side of the world. Though. Anyway,
Yeah, we spoiling it. All right.
Yeah, chapter 9.
So chapter 9, titled The Gibeonite Deception. So Joshua 9, verse 1. Now when all the kings of the west of the Jordan heard about these things, the kings in the hill country, in the western foothills, and along the entire coast of the Mediterranean Sea as far as Lebanon, the kings of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, we get all the ites again.
Oh, for sure.
They came together and waged war against Joshua and Israel. And the reason why they're saying Joshua so specifically is we know Joshua's name was becoming quite famous amongst the Canaanite nations now. Joshua and Israel sound like a boy band. Anyway, however, the people of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai. They resorted to a ruse. They went as a delegation whose donkeys were loaded with worn-out socks and old wineskins cracked and mended. They put worn and patched sandals on their feet and wore old clothes. All the bread and their food supply was dry and moldy. Then they went to Joshua in the camp of Gilgal and said to him and the Israelites, "We have come from a distant country. Make a treaty with us." Boy, they slick. They slick, eh?
Like bad. So Joshua they just end up deceiving, not even really deceiving, but just outwitting and performing AI with their tactic. But the Gibeonites, they had a tactic of their own.
They said we can pull a fast one.
Oh, for sure.
The Israelites said to the Hivites, "But perhaps you live near us. How can we make a treaty with you?" "We are your servants," they said to Joshua. But Joshua asked, "Who are you and where do you come from?" This just remind me of when the angel was talking to Hagar. Where you come from and where are you going? They answered, "Your servants have come from a very distant country because of the fame of the Lord your God. For we have heard reports of him and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he had done to the two kings of the Amorites east of Jordan, Sihon and Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth. And our elders and all those who living in our country said to us, take provisions for your journey and go meet with them and say to them, we are your servants, make a treaty with us." I'd be like, hold on. So what's your country name? Who is your king?
Right.
Simple.
And that's the thing though. We in the Canaanite land, right? Are we coming here to make friends? Like at all? Understand? Like I don't understand how this wasn't like, nah, bro, I good.
And correct me if I'm wrong, right? Didn't God already tell them don't make treaty with any of the nations in the lands?
Maybe I can't remember, bro. Just to be honest with you.
I'm gonna Google that. I'm pretty sure.
So I wanted to go on a brief tangent.
Yeah, go for it while I Google.
Yep. So I wanted to go all the way back to Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. And this is a conversation between Abraham and the Lord. Then the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterwards they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. In the fourth generation, your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking fire pot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham and said, to your descendants, I give this land, from Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, Kenizzites, Kadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Raphaites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. So I just wanted to. Oh, you gonna say something?
Yeah. So after you finish your point, I can say my part.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, and because that was part of a point that we made for the last chapter, and I just wanted to remind y'all. So this is God prophesied this to Abraham. After, my time has been is after when I'm ready. You understand what I'm saying? And so we can see that everything is now coming to pass.
Mm-hmm. And then so now in Deuteronomy 7, right? It says I'm gonna read Deuteronomy 7 to maybe 3. 7, 1 to 3. When the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess, and drives out before you many nations, the Hittites, the Gerashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations larger and stronger than you. And when the Lord your God has delivered them to you, and you have defeated them, you must destroy them totally. Make no treaty with them, show them no mercy, do not intermarry with them, do not give your daughters to their sons, or take their daughters for your sons. This is in Deuteronomy. And what's so funny is how the last chapter just ended. Joshua just read
that, yeah,
the whole law of Moses to them. You know what I'm saying? It's like literally, and even going back, I really like how Kazi read the part from Genesis just now when God was talking to Abram. So we see it from Abram's time. This is before the 400 years in Egypt, before Jacob, before Israel, all that stuff. God told us to Abram to see nations again. Now we see even to Moses now, since you're like right on the verge at this point, he told Moses, and Moses told us to the Israelites, hey, these same nations, y'all need to kill them. I already saying they're stronger than you and they larger than you, but I'm giving them to you. You must destroy them and you must not make treaty with them and you must show them no mercy. And man, Joshua just read this, literally just read this to the Israelites again. So like that's
so crazy, bro, because like obviously we as humans, we make mistakes, blatant mistakes, meaning like we make the wrong choice based on ignorance, or we make the wrong choice despite the fact that we may feel skeptical about it, But it is written, it is in writing. And not only is it in writing, you just wrote this down. You just wrote this down on stone tablets yourself. We don't know how recently it was. It might have been months or a while had passed, because the chapter starts off by saying when everybody had heard about all of this. So it would have taken a little bit of time for things to travel. And then how long does it take for bread to become moldy, per se? So it must have taken a few weeks at minimum. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but so they might have parked that like that, man.
Yeah, they pocket moldy, but they would have to get the bread and make it mold so that they could come. You see what I'm saying? Like,
so they go to someone else is what I'm saying. They have a whole city they're coming from.
Yeah, true. Just find all the moldy bread. Let's ride. And so, yeah, so definitely, you should be aware. But it's so funny because the Torah, the book of the law of Moses, this is the textbook for Israel. But we can see all throughout the Old Testament how a lot of these laws were just broken. Like when they talk about having a king, the king is not to have many wives. He's not to acquire a lot of wealth. What? The kings, I can think about off the top, they definitely wasn't listening to those laws. You feel me? And so you can see where that led to some of their downfall too, And so everything in this book, the law of Moses, everything they needed was right in there. You feel me? And you can see how straying away from that is definitely yielding poor results. It's not yielding good results. But this is one of those situations where it was very avoidable. Very avoidable. And they didn't even believe it for real, bro. Like, who y'all are? Where y'all from? How I know y'all don't live close? They must have been very good talkers.
That's all I can say, because I'm like, if you wouldn't answer my question, I don't believe you.
Right.
So now pick it up in verse 12. The bread of ours was warm when we packed it at home on the day we left to come to you. But now see how dry and moldy it is? See, they sharp, like.
Sharp bot. They needed evidence. Hey, we could box some evidence.
Yeah.
But think about it though. What I need you for, bro. Bro, I am not going to kill you. Bro, if everything cool, I don't have to make a treaty with you, I can decide whether I'm going to kill you or not. And that's always God's decision. You understand
My thing is like, God already saying, bro, these nations, y'all need to just deal with them. So your treaty and stuff, to me, this part is invalid. You know what I'm saying? We already come in with specific instructions. And but I see what you're saying. Like, if God tells us to spare one or two of y'all, we can spare y'all then. But for the most of y'all, we ain't there's no treaty situation. It's a case by case.
Right. It's a case by case. There's no need to make a treaty.
None.
What's the point of that?
None.
You feel me? Like, I don't get it.
And then they say, and these wineskins that we were filled new, but now see how cracked they are? And our clothes and our sandals are worn out from the very long journey. The Israelites sampled their provisions, but did not inquire the Lord. See? Fatal mistake. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them to let them live, and the leaders of the assembly ratified it by an oath.
Hand under the tie. Oath.
That's what they might have do.
Right. So now watch this, right? 3 days later, right? Verse 16. 3 days after they made the treaty with the Gibeonites, the Israelites heard that they were neighbors living near them. There's neighbors, bro. They live close. A simple, let me get back to you on that treaty, could have helped you all out with this. Like, this is obviously a rush decision.
My whole thing is, I'm like, did y'all not ask where which kingdom y'all from? I mean, even though they lying to y'all, right? But like, I'd have been out there say we from Gibeon, and y'all ain't do no research yet.
Right?
Didn't y'all not send spies in this land? But the spies tell y'all,
true.
They only tell you about Jericho? Right.
See, but I just want to know how they find out there's from. Oh, I guess you could find out like after the fact. You could find out how close Gibeon is. But it ain't like the way I think it. What I think it is, they should have probably called Rahab or another foreigner living among them and be like, yo.
But that's a very valid assessment, though.
Yeah.
Because Rahab should know.
Yeah, Rahab should know. But then at the same time, if everybody looked the same or similar, if everybody like watch this. If we in one, like, because it's just one big country, you see what I'm saying? Like, or one big landmass is just different cities. You understand? So like, let's think about America. If somebody is from Texas, you know what I'm saying, and somebody is from Arizona, from face value, the people from Arizona can come to us and say, yeah, but we from Texas. And like, we wouldn't know we wouldn't have a way to confirm for real. You understand what I'm saying? So Rahab, unless like some of the people could tell by the way they dress, maybe, but if everybody dressed in the same, like, it might add a degree of difficulty to actually fact check. But the fact of the matter is, because God was making it so that you don't even have to go through all of this, bro. The answer is no.
My thing is, I just, again, did not inquire a lot. If y'all want to make this such a big decision, and Joshua, again, where you at? You are just making a treaty and not inquiring with God. Have you not learned from AI the first time?
See, but this is my thing about treaty. We obviously not from this part of the world and not from this time, right? But bro, like how hard it is, bro? Like, bro, it's a verbal thing, bro. You understand what I'm saying? Someone could easily break that treaty,
They
right?
took their
Now,
oaths very serious.
exactly. They did. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm like, what am I gaining for making a treaty with you?
Mm.
How do I know that you are a trustworthy group of people to make a oath or a treaty with? How I know y'all ain't the most notorious oath breakers in all of Canaan? I don't know that. Why am I making a treaty with you?
Exactly. So which verse we at now? 17? Yeah. So
Yep.
for the Israelites set out, and on the third day came to their cities, Gibeon, Kehira, Beeroth, and Kirath Jearim. I might have butchered those. I apologize. But the Israelites did not attack them because the leaders of the assembly had sworn an oath to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. People say, it's a good thing I ain't God. Strike y'all down. The whole assembly grumbled against the leaders, but the leaders answered, we have given them our oath by the Lord, the God of Israel, and we cannot touch them now. This is what we will do. We will let them live so that God's wrath will not fall on us for breaking an oath we swore to him. And the funny thing is, like, God's still so fair and just that he still abiding the oath, even though y'all was never supposed to make this oath under my name to begin with. They continue to let them live, but they let them be woodcutters and water carriers in service of the whole assembly. So the leader's promise was kept. Then Joshua summoned the Gibeonites and said, why did you deceive us by saying we live a long way from you while actually live near us? We are now under a curse, and you will never be released. You are now under a curse, and you will never be released from service as woodcutters and water carriers of the house of my God. They answered Joshua, your servants were clearly told how the Lord your God had commanded his servant Moses to give you the whole land and to wipe us all out as inhabitants before you. So we feared for our lives because of you, and this is why we did this. We are now in your hands. Do whatever seems good and right to you. So Joshua saved them from the Israelites, but did not kill them. That day, he made the Gibeonites woodcutters and carriers for the assembly to provide for the needs of the altar of the Lord at the place the Lord would choose. And this is what they are to this day. Now, I must say, though, on behalf of the Gibeonites, they win.
I can't cry shame on them.
It was a one-sided deal, but they win.
I can't, like, who wouldn't, bro? If you know, all I have to do to stay alive is to outsmart you. No, basically, the Gibeonites, all right, they still could have just submit to God. You understand what I'm saying? And it would have a different circumstance. But what they end up doing is saying, I can't beat y'all. And we're not even going to try to beat y'all. But you know, as the old saying go, if you can't beat them,
join them.
So they say, man, we could join them as best as we could. Let's make an oath with them. Let's tell them, bro, we come in peace. And hey, instead of worshiping God and submitting to God, they rather say, we came because we heard about God. We heard the fame, or we fear him, like the Most High God. Like, basically, we come here because we hear about this God and you know, we like him. You feel me? So that's why we coming for this oath. But they wasn't really about that for real. They just was really about staying alive.
They say, yeah, we don't want to die. We didn't see what y'all do to Egypt. You said everyone saying, bro, like, we didn't see what y'all do to Egypt. But let me remind you, this is over 40 years ago.
Yeah.
We didn't see what y'all do to Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see what y'all do to Jericho
yeah.
and the Amorites most recently. We know we next in line. Hey, we next in line. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, we could think we high and mighty, but clearly, if y'all do it to Egypt, Jericho, Ai, Bethel.
No, we good. We good.
Exactly.
So I can't get mad at them, bro. It's because they try. You know what I mean? Like what you can't, which like at least they try. They try to stay alive. You feel me? It worked for them, but you know they end up on a curse too. You feel me? But it's Joshua them. Like I feel like the Israelites very prone to be independent. You know, like I ain't gonna cry shame on them or say like Joshua them do nothing evil per se. Like based on the Nakhaz understanding, I just feel like it's very negligent. You making oaths in the name of God where God has talked to you straight up. You could, you know what I mean? You could hear from God, like verbally. What? Why you don't just talk to him or wait? You feel me? Why you don't just wait till you get an answer? I wouldn't know. But at the same time, I'd be remiss if I don't say how we take matters in our own hand all the time. We move without waiting to hear what God gotta say. You understand what I'm saying? I think it was something I'm going through right now where I'm just like, I think this is only happening because I did not wait on the Lord, like to give me a response, you know? Sometimes I'll tell you, sometimes I just ask God, give me a sign. And I don't get no sign. And I just move forward and I realize I do the right thing to do. God, sometimes God, like in my personal relationship, he's telling me, bro, I already give you the confidence and everything to do this, bro. I ain't repeating myself. You feel me? If you didn't hear me, that's because of something you had going on. So, you know, deal with that so you could understand what's going on. And so, like when I first moved to Orlando, I was wondering if I should cut my hair in order to work for the company that I work for. And I was like, Lord, tell me, man, tell me. And I pray and I pray and I pray and I ain't hear nothing, you know. But then somebody said something to me that was so profound to me. It is like, bro, do you want to work for someone who doesn't accept you? And that was God. You understand what I'm saying? And I didn't even recognize it was God. You feel me? But I waiting on God to give me a feeling in my heart or a dream or just tell me something that I could hear. I ain't hear it. You understand what I'm saying? But at the same time, I move forward. Bro, even just now, I actually really realized that was God talking to me. You understand what I'm saying? And I accepted the word because it was profound to me. And my thing is, I just move forward like, well, I ain't hear nothing from God. You feel me? I move forward. But luckily for me, God was telling me, go forward. You know, don't cut your hair. You understand what I'm saying? But sometimes we just throw it on autopilot. You feel me? I only asking you for formality. Like today, I was eating. I get a couple bites in. I was already tasting the food as I was cooking, right? As I get done, I get to eating. I ain't even hungry no more because I tasting the food as I go, right? And before I actually really dig in, I say, let me pray. But I ain't really pray. This was just a formality. Yo, love it, Lord. Thank you for this food. Nourish my body. XYZ. Going through the motions because at the end of the day, I believe you should thank God for your food. But this wasn't a personal thing that I was having. This was really a formality. A lot of times when we ask God for guidance and direction, it's just a formality. It's really a checklist. I know that I am a go-getter and I am about to go and get. However, you can't honestly say that I didn't talk to God before going and getting. Is that the same as God giving to you? You understand what I'm saying? We see where Joshua, 2 times back to back, 2 stories back to back that involved Joshua. Joshua was going and getting by himself. The first time he gone and get his butt whooped in AI. That's what he get. You understand what I'm saying? He get an L from AI. Second time, he listened to God. You know, he listened to God. He got Achan out of here. And you know, they end up beating AI. This time around, he went and say, all right, I could do a, what's it called, an oath. Now you get deceived. You get deceived, like.
Yeah, I mean, like, even before we wrap up, right? One more thing I would say, like, and just to point out how much Gibeon still benefit in this deal. One, they still risk their existence on this bet. It might have been deceiving. Well, I wouldn't say it might have been. It was pretty deceiving how they got around to it. And Nakhaz alluded to, like, they probably should have just gone to God for themselves, repented, and then probably God would have spared them. But it's like, because even while Kazi was talking just now, I was doing like some research. I was like, hold on. I'm like, the name Gibeon sounds so familiar. I remember from so much other places in the Bible, but like, let me just point out how beneficial this was to Gibeon. Like, there were some prominent people who came from Gibeon that like did some important things to, like, in the Bible. Like, Gibeon was a city where the Ark of the Covenant stayed during the reigns of David and Solomon. Gibeon was a city where God spoke to Solomon. The people who helped build the wall in the times of Babylon with Nehemiah, I think it's probably Persia at that point, but fact check me on this, is one of the cities, either Babylon or Persia. I really think it was Persia. But the people who helped build the wall with Nehemiah, neither here nor there, they were from the tribe of Gibeon. And like the prophet Hananiah was from the tribe of Gibeon. So it's like these people would have never even been involved with the Israelites if it wasn't from this incident right here. So, and to me, like it goes back to show, because like me and Kazi were talking about Juno last week off mic, but it shows how even people we think are our enemies. Like this is why the Bible tells you love your enemies and pray for your enemies, because God's still working on them too. Because the tribe of Gibeon was an enemy of the tribe of Israel. There's no way around that. They were in the land of Canaan. They were an enemy of the land of Israel. But through them acknowledging God and going to this length, they were still spared, and God still was able to use them and save a whole city. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this part of it kind of gets lost in it. But like as you go through the Bible, you're like, oh, that's a Gibeonite. Oh, how did Gibeon get involved with the Israelites again? Because that ain't one of the tribes of Israel. Oh, yeah. There's some debauchery, but they still were saved.
Trickery.
You know, a little bit of hoodwinking.
Yeah.
But I mean, so like, and that's what just stood out to me. I'm like, hold on, like these people still were able to do some pretty great things through God because they were sinners who were still humble enough to try to come to God through some means.
Yeah, bro. It's like Father Abraham, you know, is a great nation. Who he blessed is blessed. You understand what I'm saying? He had a son. His son ended up being a great nation, even though that wasn't a part of the plan. You feel me? It's like the Lord keeps his oaths. And that's a part of him being good and being righteous too. You feel me? Like God is able to, like, I ain't even trying to minimize God, but you know, like how they say, take lemons and make lemonade. Like that overall idea. He's able to work in the confines that you push him, that you put him in. You understand what I'm saying? Like it might be a situation where, like, and I can think about situations where somebody have a child. You understand what I'm saying? Like they're not married, they have a child, it wasn't planned. You understand what I'm saying? And then the Lord is able to do great things through that child. You understand what I'm saying? Or the Lord or that child end up being such a big blessing to you. You feel me? And you could say, the Lord put that child here, you know what I'm saying, bless me and change my life. But the Lord actually took this opportunity to use this thing, you understand, to change your life and to bless you. And that's the thing about God. Like he is able to work in the confines that you put him in, but the situation is always better when we don't put God into a box and make him work in this limited situation. You understand? When God has free reign to actually move through us, that is when our life is the most pleasurable, most enjoyable. We can get the most out of life. You feel me? It's even times when we don't even know how much of a blessing this thing could be. It's times when the Lord blesses us with stuff we don't even see it as a blessing. But if we had truly gotten the things that we wanted, we would end up like Joshua. Well, I want to give you all this oath because God speak a good deal. I'll give it to you. Then you realize that you just made an oath with your enemy. Okay, I want to go and take a 3,000 men to go fight Gibeon. And now you 36 men short because 36 men lost their lives because we just moving without God.
Out of fear for their lives, the Gibeonites chose methods of deception in order to make a truce with the Israelites. I guess it's true what they say. When you can't beat them, join them. But the problem is, when you make friends with the enemy, you also become an enemy. But we'll talk more about the Israelites, the Gibeonites, and the battle of the Canaanite kingdoms on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you next week.